Hi, this is Laura with Laura's Market Fresh Club. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a casserole for onions, squash, and cheese. To do that, we're going to need butternut squash, rutabaga, sweet potatoes, salt, olive oil, roasted onions, chicken stock, cream, panko breadcrumbs, and fresh sage. And Parmesan cheese, of course, the most important part. First thing we need to do is start layering our slices of sweet potatoes on the bottom of the pan. The pan should be lightly oiled with either oil, cooking spray, butter, anything like that will work. We have to season each layer with a little bit of salt, not too much because we're going to use our Parmesan cheese that has a lot of salt already in it. So we're going to shred the Parmesan cheese, and then for our next layer, we'll start with some butternut squash. Try and layer it nice and flat, but just a little bit overlapping on top of the sweet potatoes. Season that with a little bit of salt, shred it with some Parmesan cheese, and we're ready for our rutabaga. And you just keep layering, alternating the layers. In the very center, we're gonna spread out our roasted red onions all the way from top to bottom for a nice little onion surprise in the center. And we'll go back to our sweet potatoes after that. So we put our sweet potatoes in, and you keep the layering going. You can do this with any type of root vegetable or winter squash, and they all go together really nicely. So this is a really great dish you can do for Thanksgiving. It's a nice surprise and something different as opposed to just roasted acorn squash or something like that. So, all right, we're almost done with our layers. Here we go, a little bit more Parmesan cheese on top. Everything's nicely seasoned and ready to go in the oven. One more thing before we go in the oven. Just put our chicken stock right on top and cover it nice and tight with some tin foil to keep all of those juices on the inside. And now we're ready for the oven. So now we're gonna put it in the 350-degree oven and check it in an hour when we'll add our cream. After an hour of cooking, then we added our cream in and put it back in for a half an hour. Our little casserole should be finished. So, the big reveal. Be very careful because it's usually pretty steamy when you open this guy up. Wow, that looks great. Everything's all cooked down. And we just have one more final piece to this amazing puzzle. I tossed some panko breadcrumbs in a little bit of olive oil, and we're just gonna spread those on top for a nice texture change from all of the perfectly tender root vegetables and squash that are in here. And I turned my broiler on, so all this needs is a little flash in the broiler. Be very careful that you don't burn your breadcrumbs, because that can happen pretty quickly. So we're just gonna stick it under the broiler for a couple minutes. Be really careful with this part, because it'll go from perfectly brown to burnt, like that. And just after a couple minutes, you get a nicely brown crust. And last thing is we're gonna just take some little chiffonaded sage and sprinkle it over the top. You just learned how to make an onion, squash, and cheese casserole. This is Laura with Laura's Market Fresh Club.